Hello, it's SharRon. I thought I would pop in. I'm late already, but I wanted to take an opportunity to review Chapter 5 of I Have Learned a Few Things. Hope you have that. And I want to continue on our series. And in Chapter 5, the chapter is called Don't Hate, Cultivate. Don't hate, cultivate. So if you can't spend time, pop in now. I hope you can join me later on. But I want to talk about this chapter, Don't Hate, Cultivate. It was a statement that my pastor, Dr. Kenneth L. Samuel, said, and it really deals with jealousy. And I think it's something that we have to talk about because all of us at some time in our lives have found ourselves to be jealous. We have thought someone was getting ahead faster and quicker. We thought somebody was prettier or thinner or smarter. We thought people had different privileges than we did, and sometimes they did. So when we think about all the times we felt jealous, I think what we all have in common is that it made us feel bad about ourselves. And when we are in that jealous space, it really prevented us from being our best selves, and it prevented us from really appreciating who we are. So I want to talk from the mindset that competition is really a thief. Jealousy is a thief, and it not only steals our joy, but it steals so much more from us. And so in this chapter, I talk about growing up, and I was jealous of everybody growing up because, I was the only Black kid, and I thought everybody had it better. Everybody was stronger and prettier and smarter and had everything that I just really desired. And so I didn't even know when I went to college that I was living in this jealous space. And so for other women or men who have experienced that feeling of jealousy, I wanted to share a couple of things that I want you to consider and think about. Is jealousy showing up in your life in a way that is rendering you impotent, inflexible, and rendering you negative? So the first thing I want us to think about is that jealousy is a thief that robs you of your own gifts. It robs you because it prevents you from seeing your own giftedness and your own talents. The truth is that we all are wired differently. We all have different gifts, different assignments. We all have different talents. And the problem with jealousy is that we start to compare our weaknesses to somebody else's strengths. So when we're jealous, we're never comparing our strengths with the strengths of others. We are comparing who we are not with people who we perceive to be better and stronger and have all the attributes that we don't have. Now, the challenge with that is that it prevents us from cultivating our own strengths because we will start lamenting what we don't have versus leveraging what we do have. And it makes us downgrade and downsize our own skills and our own development. So I want us to think about, when we are jealous, are we wasting our energy looking at someone else's plate without eating what's on our plate? Are we looking at somebody else's strengths and skills without cultivating our own? Are we lamenting about how people have perks and privileges and power that we don't have versus cultivating our own to grow our own influence and to grow our own impact? So I think that is important when we talk about jealousy, is to understand it's a thief and it robs you of your ability to cultivate your own strength. It robs you of your own ability to optimize and maximize something that you do well, because we all do something better than someone else does. And so I think that's important for us to remember that it's something that you do that only you can do, and you can only do it in the way that you can do it. And if we can remember that, we won't be tempted, because it's a temptation to think someone else is so much better and downplay who we are. So that's one thing. The second thing is that when we hate on others, it prevents us from running our own race and honoring our own timing. So often in corporate America, I see people who jump to positions too fast before they are ready. It's like remember, our ego will order something that our skills can't deliver. And when we are so wrapped up in jealousy, our ego will start ordering opportunities and start ordering jobs and start ordering things that we're not ready for. And so we miss that time to develop ourselves because we are comparing our race to someone else's race. I see so many times that people self-sabotage because they have not gone through the process for the development and for the power. So they get these jobs and then they bottom out. They sabotage themselves because they don't expose their strength. They expose their weaknesses because they are competing against someone else outside of their strengths, but they're also competing outside of their own process. Remember, we only can run our race at our own pace. And when we start trying to run our race and compare our journey to someone else's journey, what happens is that we will sabotage ourselves, we won't cultivate ourselves, and we will miss opportunities or take opportunities that we are not developed for yet. And the worst thing you want to do is to be overexposed and underdeveloped. It is nothing worse than being overexposed than underdeveloped. And then what happens, you rob yourself of future opportunities because you have jacked up your reputation because you failed to deliver. So remember, you don't want to get into a position where you are overpromising something because somebody else can do it and you can't do it. And it's okay. Again, you never want to be in any setting, a place where you are overexposed but underdeveloped, because that can hurt you now and hurt you in the future. So again, when we are in the space of jealousy, we don't optimize and maximize and appreciate our gifts. Two, we risk running someone else's race, which means that we might be overexposed and underdeveloped because we're allowing our egos to order things that our talent can't deliver, and that makes us vulnerable in the future. The third thing I want you, hey, Lucky, for joining me. The third thing I think is important is that when we are in this space of jealousy, it does not allow us to be who we are because we start acting and masquerading and acting like people who we perceive to be better. And so we become an actor in our own lives. We become a masquerader and an imposter. And we spend all of that energy that we can use to cultivate our strengths and to go to classes and to learn and to read, trying to imitate someone that we're not gifted to be. It's nothing worse than being a hater or imitator versus being an original. But you can never be original, a good original, one, if you don't honor your gifts. Two, if you don't run your race at your pace. And so we got to be careful that we don't start morphing ourselves or contorting ourselves to fit this image of what we perceived as better, that we put ourselves in positions where we self-sabotage because we are operating outside of our gifts, we are operating outside of our personality, we are operating outside of our strengths, and we got to be careful to run our race, do what we do and do that well. I remember, growing up, I wanted to be smart like the other girls in math, but I didn't even acknowledge I was good in English. I wasted so much time trying to be good at math. I suck at math. Now I'm good at money, but I suck at math. But what if I would have spent that time being a writer, being a speaker, being great in biology and chemistry? I was great at that, but I wanted to be good in math. So I spent all that energy on my weakness versus cultivating my strengths. And then I could have been an exceptional person in my strength versus just being mediocre in my weakness, because nobody pays for mediocrity. So I think that's important for us to remember. The fourth thing I want us to think about is when we spend that time in jealousy, that we don't give ourselves, here it is, the grace to fail. Now, why is that important? We learn not from our successes, we learn more from our struggles. We learn from our failures. But if you're so jealous that you feel like you can't give yourself permission to try and fail, you stunt your own growth. One of the things that we need to continue to go on this growth continuum, and so we don't lose momentum in our lives, is to give ourselves some grace. To say, SharRon, try. You mess up, you mess up. But if you're so worried about running someone else's race and doing something that you're not good at, you won't give yourself permission grace to fail, and then you will be trying to function at such a high level of anxiety that you'll never be your best. Nobody does their best thinking in anxiety. Nobody does their best creativity in angst. Nobody does their best collaboration when they're defensive. And so we got to think about, are we in this space that we're hating on someone else, that we are not allowing ourselves, giving ourselves grace to be who we are, giving ourselves grace to fail as who we are, versus to try to be something that we're not. Again, nobody wants an imitation. God doesn't even bless imitation. Just be an original, because you are. The last thing that's important for us to consider is that as we spend all our time on hating everyone else instead of cultivating our own gifts, we fail to be in a posture of gratitude. We fail to be in a posture to say, God, I thank you. Thank you for giving me something to work with. I don't have maybe 5 talents, but I have one good talent, and I'm going to work that thing. I'm going to work the jelly till it starts looking like jam, right? But if we don't use what we got to get what we want, or use what we got to get what we need, because we are not walking in a place of gratitude, not only do you not leverage the gift, you don't develop the gift, but you don't even really dedicate the gift back to God. Say, God, you gave this to me. I'm a steward of this gift. Show me how to use it, and then put me in places where it can be developed, and then use it not only for my education, but for my elevation. Help me use it for my own activation, my own domination. Help me use this thing you gave me, even though it's small. Because what we need to always remember, the gift that God gives us is a gift, but what we give back by serving the world is a gift back to the world. And so if we can't be trusted to use our one gift, why are we asking for 2? I see so often people will say, well, I'm praying that God can bless me. Well, you got 5 gifts. What you doing with those? And so we're asking someone, in a way, the spirit, the source, God, to entrust us with more, but we are not even doing anything with less. We're asking to increase our territory, but we have not even done anything with the gifts and the opportunities that we have already been given, because we don't like how it looks. We want to be on this stage versus on this platform. We want to be in this car versus in this vehicle. We want something. We always want something that somebody else has, versus saying, you know what, this is what I got. I'm going to expose it. I'm going to develop it. I'm going to express it. I'm going to experiment with it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enrich it. I'm going to enhance it. I am going to express it. I'm going to do all I can do with this one. I'm going to show the source, God, that I can be trusted with one, and then God will add on to you. But you can't just lament and say, well, I don't have the gift that I want, and so I'm going to do nothing. And then we wonder why we can't get more when we're not being a good steward over what we have. So I just want us to really think about, have we, hey, Regina, have we all been jealous? Yes. And do we have to be mindful not to fall into that temptation? Yes. Because we all have been jealous. I'm tempted, we all are tempted, if we be honest, why some people would been married 20 and 30 times. When you put all my marriages together, don't even make 10 years. Well, maybe 15 years, right? You put everything together, and then here I am, and maybe here you are, Regina and Lucky, and other people lamenting things that we don't have, and we fail to see how amazing, how regal, how of a unique, special design, how many abilities and potentials and opportunities that we have, because we are honoring everything else that we're not versus celebrating what we are. We all have our own shapes. What does that mean? S means that we all have our own spiritual gifts. We all are endowed with gifts to do a special work in the world. S is spiritual gifts. H, we all have a heart. We all are passionate about different things, and it's implanted in our DNA because it was implanted in us because it's part of our destiny. It's instinctive. A, we all have different abilities. And you know how people have different abilities. If you just think about how many times have you met people like, how do you learn how to do that so quickly? And they're like, I don't know how I'm good at it. I just am. How did you learn how to play the piano so good? They don't know. So we all have things that we're just good at. We don't know why we're good at it, but we are. And we can do it faster, better than most people. So we all have our abilities. P, we all have a personality to do what we've been designed to do. And so our personality is something that is a tool. Yes, Regina, we all cannot be the same part of the body. Absolutely. We all have a tool. Our personalities are tools. That's why I'm always shocked when people who say, well, I want to be on stage, but are you equipped to do that? Or I want to be an accountant. You put me in a room with some numbers, I'll go crazy. I am not wired for that. We all have our own personalities, unique dispositions that are just tools that we were equipped with to do whatever we were assigned to do. And the E is we all have certain experiences that we all have gone through to help us get the wisdom that we need to do our divine appointment. So we all have wisdom. You know, why do I do this coaching? Well, because I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. I have raised step kids. I've raised my sister. I have raised my son. I have been in corporate America. I'm still in corporate America. I've been in ministry. Even though I was Christian, I married a Muslim. I wore hijab. I've been through an eating disorder. I've been through depression. I've been through so much in my life. Why did I go through those experiences? To do what I'm doing now. And it's not lost on me that I've been equipped and cultivated to do this work. And the S is that we all have skills. Skills are things that we can develop, that we can get better with practice and effort. So we all have our own shapes. So please just think about, is there any area in your life that we are jealous, that we have some hateration? Are there places in our lives where we tend to make someone, you know, highlight somebody else than us? Here's the truth: we might not have the grace to deal with what they're dealing with. I see people thinking, oh, I wish I was married to that person. I'm thinking, you don't know what happens in that marriage. Oh, I wish I was married, had that job. You don't know what that person takes to be in that position. Oh, I wish someone was thin. You don't know if they have an eating disorder. We always think we want to do what somebody else is doing, but we don't know what it takes. We don't know the price that they have paid. We don't know if we are equipped to do what they're doing. But what if we just say, listen, this is what I'm capable. This is my shape. And I am going to do what God has called me to do without worrying about what somebody else do, because maybe I'm not graced for that. And so I think jealousy is something we got to challenge ourselves with, because we all have been jealous. And sometimes we all attempt it. Let's be honest. We all attempt it. And when we get tempted, that's the time we need to pull back and say, wait a minute. Why am I downplaying my own strengths? Why do I want what they have? That grass, we don't know what it takes for that grass to grow. I might have to walk in some deep manure to be in that grass over there, right? We don't know what it takes to do another job. Give ourselves some grace, give ourselves some gratitude, and give ourselves some appreciation that we are equipped to do what we have been called to do. And so in this chapter of Don't Hate, Cultivate, I talked about something. I said that I used to highlight every failure that I have done, but I realized it's just a total waste of time. This is what I said on page 20. Jealousy robs us of our precious time and energy we need to develop our own gifts and improve our own talents. It saps our strength. In fact, jealousy makes us bitter, not better, and it makes you feel pathetic, not powerful. And bitterness has a way of seeping into our attitudes, our actions, and our abilities. Just think about it. How can we use our skills when we are sulking? How can we effectively grow when we are grumbling? How can we be blessed when we are brooding? How can we be victorious when we are vexing? How can we advance if we're angry? Nobody does their best work in the midst of negativity. And if we really celebrate ourselves for who we are and congratulate ourselves for what we can do, maybe we will be less jealous. Maybe if we fully embraced and use our talents, we will discover that we have more abilities than we initially realized. Who knows? It's worth a try. So then I also say that as I'm near 50, well, I'm over 50 now, I'm committed more than ever before to be the best me that I can be and not a bad imitation of someone else. It took me 2 decades to learn that lesson, but now I love me. And I now know that I'm uniquely made and highly favored, and so are you. So I hope that gives you something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me. And I just want to celebrate us and know that we are who we are, and we were created in this way to do a perfect work. Our DNA is part of God's equipment for our destiny. And so let's not be jealous. Let's celebrate. I want to celebrate both of you, and let's celebrate other people because the best is yet to come. Yes. So thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. And if you have the book, there are questions and the back of the book that I think is important for us to ask ourselves why we're jealous. And if we're jealous, instead of being jealous, what we're doing to make ourselves better. Yes. Because if you're really working on yourself, you ain't got time to worry about anybody else. So thanks so much for joining me. Blessings to you. And thanks. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week for Chapter 6. Blessings. Bye-bye. Thanks again.